discussed about the main propulsion and how the propeller starts turning. And so we have seen that the engines are fitted with different shafts, etc., that we have already seen the layout. And finally, it is getting connected to the propeller. And the propeller starts turning. And once it turns, you can see that the ship is moving ahead or astern, depending upon your direction. So far, so good. But here, we don't allow the ship to move only in one direction. Probably there are times when you may have to even change the direction of your ship. So how are we going to do that? That is where we are going to discuss on the topic called steering system. Generally it is termed as steering gear system. All of you must have seen it in the shipping campus that you have the rudder which is placed on the aft portion of the propeller itself, and that is the one which is going to turn either to the port side or to the starboard side, giving you the required change in position of the ship. I suppose that is clear. Now here, what we are going to do is we are going to study the steering gear system. Basically, let us see what are the different systems that is available for us. We have one is 2-ram system. The second one is your 4-ram system. The third one is the rotary main system. So these are the three major steering gear systems that are available. But today we are going to limit ourselves to our 2-ram system. If you can understand the basics, I think it will be good. So let us see how this 2-ram system functions. So if I can tell you the diagrammatic schematic diagram, if I give you the schematic diagram, you should be able to understand them well. Okay. So we start off with the steering, steering wheel, which is located in the wheelhouse. So you have the steering wheel, which is located in the wheelhouse. All of you must have seen that. You have seen it in the in your simulator room. You have seen it in the shipping campus. We have the steering wheel. Now this steering wheel is the one which, once rotated clockwise or anti-clockwise, is going to give you the necessary turn in your rudder. So once your wheel turns, you have your telemotor transmitter receiving the electrical signal. It receives the electrical signal from the wheel. The transmitter is going to transmit. Now this is located in your wheelhouse. WH is a wheelhouse. From here, this transmitter is going to send the signal to the receiver. This receiver is located in the steering flat. You can call it as a steering flat, you can also call it as a steering compartment. Steering flat or steering compartment. So here the signal from the wheelhouse is transmitted to the steering flat, and from here you can see that the signal, electrical signal, has to be converted into a mechanical movement. So So here once this happens, we have the mechanical movement taking place. So what really happens is, when the mechanical movement is taking place, we find that there is a transmission of the electrical signal into mechanical, and from this point over here, this point is getting shifted. Before that, I have to tell you what this particular lever is. This is nothing but a floating lever. Here we have this signal, as I told you earlier. We have the electrical signal which is coming into your steering compartment or your steering flag. Comes up to the receiver. The receiver in turn is going to change that into a mechanical movement. This mechanical movement is experienced by the floating lever. This floating lever is subjected to a movement over here with respect to this point over here. So if you notice, this is going to take a change from this point to this point with respect to this. So if you can name this as 1, 2, and 3. So with respect to 3, your floating lever is changing its position to point 2. Now here let us understand. Now we are just going a little bit more complicated so that you will be able to understand them. That's why I am going step by step. So once you have this movement taking place, over here, at this point over here, there is a link which is connected. So over here, you find that this link is connected to the pump. This is called the actuator. What happens over here? This one is subjected to a pull onto my right, and it goes over here because your receiver is going to push the floating lever from point 1 to point 2. So this point again gets shifted from this place to this place. So I name this as 4 and 4 dash. I hope it's getting clear now. So here, since this pull is taking place over here, the pump is getting activated, and once the pump gets activated, it starts pumping oil into the cylinder. So once you see that the oil is getting pumped into the cylinder, this is with pressure. So once it is coming with pressure, you have the cylinder over here. I call this as cylinder number 1. And this portion is subjected to a pressure which is coming from the pump. The pressure is experienced by this ram over here. Once this pressure which is experienced by the ram, which is connected to your tiller arm, this is called the tiller arm, this is subject to a turn. Once this turns over here, you can see that the cylinder number 2 is proceeding towards my left hand side. So whatever oil that is collected over here is going to return back into the pump. So you can see that the oil is getting recirculated. Fine. So having understood this, that the oil is coming in from the pump because of the actuator being shifted from 4 to 4 dash, the oil is entering into the cylinder 1, pushing the ram, and finally this ram number 2 is also pushing the oil out. Now what really happens now? While doing so, you have this particular contraption, which is called the crosshead pin. So this is the one which is going to slide over here and see that the linear motion is getting converted into sector or sequential motion. So in this case, what happens is when there is a motion taking place over here, I have the motion taking place in this direction also. Now this angle theta, as I say, is depending upon the angle that you have given in the steering wheel, which is there in the wheelhouse. So I hope you are able to understand that. The angle depending upon the amount of degree that you have given over here is transmitted over here. This is again translated into the pumping action and results in the rudder movement. So once your rudder has turned to the particular angle that you have set it to, the rudder has turned. Now, how do you say that the rudder has turned? The stiller arm again is connected to a rudder stock, and this rudder stock is connected to the rudder. Fine. Now, before we go into the implication of it, I just try and show you a small replica of the steering system. Now over here, you can see that this is the wheelhouse. So when I want to turn the wheel, either in this direction, either in the clockwise or in the anti-clockwise direction, I have the telemotor transmitter which is located over here. This is the telemotor receiver. This is the tiller arm which is connected to the rudder. Now can you see the rudder over here? This rudder is connected to the rudder stock. I hope it is clear. Now, if I try and see that I turn the wheel clockwise, I can see that there is a transmission taking place from here. This is received by here. Depending upon the degree to which I have turned, this subjects the tiller arm to turn, and finally you have seen that the rudder has also turned its particular angle. I hope it's clear. Now I would like to put that same thing back again. So in that case, what I do is, I use this and turn the wheel in the anti-clockwise direction. When I do that, I can see that the arm is going and turning the wheel onto that desired angle. I hope it is clear. So you have the transmitter, you have the receiver, you have the tiller arm, you have the rudder stock, and you have the rudder. So whenever you are free, you can always go through this particular object that I have made, so that it becomes a lot more easier for you to understand. Even then, if you do have any doubts, please come back. I am always available for you. So we have this kind of an arrangement by which your rudder is turning. Now here, if I go a little more in detail as to how the rudder is getting connected, this is the rudder stock. This portion is your rudder stock. So your rudder stock is connected to the rudder over here. That's your rudder stock. And so what happens is when it is turning, you find that the rudder is going to take a different position. This way, or it is also this way. Yeah. Now, let us look into the mechanism of your floating cable. We have already seen that the positions are changing from 1 to 2 with respect to 3. 4 is changing to 4 dash. Pumping action starts. Once the pumping action starts, the oil which is going over here is going to change the position of the rudder. Once the rudder has changed, here there is another contraption that we have, 1, 3. So if you are able to understand this is your zero position of your rudder. The angle changes to theta degrees. While it is changing to theta degrees, this position is also coming over here. I have the hunting lever. The hunting lever also changing its position to a new position. While doing so, what really happens is, since this point over here has been fixed, this is being pulled. Why? Because it has already reached the desired angle. So this particular hunting lever has reached its position over here. This point 3 is being pulled towards a new position called 3 dash. So when it is being pulled to 3 dash with respect to 2, what happens is we have a line which is developing in this fashion. So with respect to 2, I have the new position forming 2, 4, 3 dash. So what really happens now? This 4 dash is being pulled towards 4, and 4 is supposed to be a neutral position. Now once it comes to its neutral position, the pumping action stops and your rudder is in its new position. I hope it's clear. The position of your rudder is in new position. Till such time you are going to give the second command. Now what really happens is, we have to understand, as far as this hunting lever is concerned, it is nothing but a feedback arrangement. It gives the feedback to the floating lever to bring back your pumping action to neutral. Okay? And now if I have to do, now we have seen that the oil is being pumped into cylinder 1. Now the seaman is getting a command that it has to go on to the reverse direction. In that case, what happens? This pumping action will get reversed. So the oil is being pumped into this direction over here. The ram is moving from left to right. The rudder angle is going to change. In this point, the oil which is over here is being pumped out, and finally it returns into the pump. So this is how you are able to establish the rudder movement in whichever direction you would like to have. So I hope you have understood this point, and if there is anything else that you need to, please be free enough to ask. Okay. And there's one thing which I would like to tell you, that when the ship is going into the dry dock, that's the time when you have to check the movement of your rudder from your harder port to harder starboard. So there the surveyor will check that the rudder is taking about 28 seconds to go from port to starboard. So this is the regulation which is a must, and you have to insist that it is functioning properly. Fine. So that, as far as everything is okay, fine. Now let us look into this part. What if there is no transmission taking place from the wheelhouse to the receiver? We find that the seaman is turning the wheel, but he is frantically turning the wheel, but nothing is happening over here to the rudder. That means there is something radically wrong, which means the signal is not getting transmitted over here. That means there is some mishap that has taken place between the signals, between these 2 points. At that point of time, don't get disturbed. The only thing that you have to do is ensure that your ship is not jeopardized and that you are absolutely on command. So here, in this case, you do have an arrangement This is one of the emergency steering arrangement that is very important, and that's what we'll discuss. And of course, we'll discuss the other parts also a little later. But here, for understanding part of it, let us see. Since the signals are not being received here, your floating lever is not going to turn, your rudder is not going to turn, it's not responding. In that case, don't get disturbed. You have to ensure that you are coming into the steering compartment, engage this emergency wheel. If you can see that there is an element racket pinion arrangement over here. So once the wheel is engaged, and you can see that there is a wheel over here, which is directly connected to the actuator. So here, I am going to directly actuate the pumping action. Right? So here also again, you have an indicator which tells you whether I am going to the port side or to the starboard side. So when I turn the wheel, I will come to know whether I am going to the port side or I am to the starboard side. So here when I do that, what happens is this, when I turn the wheel over here, the actuator is getting shifted. Now let us assume that the actuator is again getting shifted from 4 to 4 dash, which means the pumping action takes place and the oil is going into cylinder 1 and the return oil is coming from cylinder 2 back into the pump. Okay. What about the reverse one? If I turn it the other way around, anti-clockwise, the oil is going into the cylinder 2, returning from cylinder 1 back. I hope it is clear. So this is your emergency arrangement as far as the steering wheel is concerned. This is very essential for you guys because you are the ones who will have to rush to the steering flat and you have to coordinate to the bridge. Okay. Now you will say, how do we communicate in this case? There are means by which you have to communicate. Okay. Now here, there is a hotline between the two places, your steering compartment as well as the wheelhouse. You have your hotline, you talk to them directly. Number one. Number two, you may say, supposing the power has gone up, what do we do? In that case, you have your self-powered telephone, which is directly again connected to the 2 points. And of course, if you are in one of those older ships, you do have your mouthpiece, okay, or voice pipe. This voice pipe is between the wheelhouse and the. But then you may say, sir, in the present day we can also use walkie-talkie. Fine. But before using your walkie-talkie, please ensure that it is not one of those grey areas. There are all possibilities of your walkie-talkie not functioning between the steering compartment and the wheelhouse, mainly because it is an enclosed space and you have your metal plates. So there won't be any transmission taking place. Don't get jittered. That's the main idea. Once you don't jitter, your actions will be good. So here we have this kind of arrangement by which you will be able to communicate. And at the same time, you also, while using your emergency, you also have a gyro repeater over there which tells you as to what angle at which you are turning. And to confirm, you are also going to ask over the phone to the bridge, find out whether the angle is matching or not. Okay, that is also cross-checking that the instrument that you have fitted over here is also functioning. I hope it is clear. So if you have any doubts, please don't hesitate at any time. Okay. Now probably you may not be having any questions at all, but when you go through the books, find out. And yet if you have any problems, please come back to me. Thank you.